Hey guys, Erosions here, back with another video. And in this video, I'll be showing you guys how I made this animation. I guess it's not really an animation. I guess it's more so an erosion simulation, really, with geometry nodes, simulation nodes, etc. But yeah, I'd say it looks pretty sick. You have the erosion lines going down, sediment depositing in the crevices and on the ground. I'd say it looks quite good. Yeah, I'll be using Blender 3.6.2, but you can use any version with the simulation nodes branch. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna just hit A and just delete everything. We don't need anything in the scene except for a plane. We can just go ahead and create a new geometry node tree. So what we first want to do is create a mountain. So what that requires is some geometry. So we're going to use a subdivide mesh. Just check it out in wireframe mode and just subdivide it until it's around enough vertices. Say that's around enough. Let's add in a set position node. Connect it up with a noise texture color socket here. Add in a vector math. -0.5. Scale, vector scale. So we can scale down the noise, like so. What we actually want to do now is multiply it by the z-axis, just so we get more of that vertical height. We don't want all of this to be affected, so we only want to create a selection for the middle. We can use a vector math node set to length, position node. Connect this up with a color ramp. Set this to multiply. Seems to be in the opposite direction, so let's just switch this around. As you can see, it's only getting affected in the middle. The mountain is somewhat working, or the terrain at least. It seems to be going down, so what we can do instead is take a combine XYZ, plug this in here, get a map range node, plug it into the Z value, maybe like this. And then we can add in some other noise here. Add. Multiply via the Z value. See if we can find a good seed here. This seems to be okay. Play around with the values here just so we can get something a bit better. That seems good. And then last but not least, we can just add in a blur attribute. Vector. Just to blur it out a little bit. And also, after that, we can just add in the last bit of noise. Let's just duplicate that. Offset. So, do this here. We do need a few more subdivisions. Let's do a subdivision surface. We're at 2 levels. I think that looks okay. Obviously, we might want the scale to only affect the middle. So maybe we could try this, like that, and then we could just increase the scale here, and the detail can be increased to get better detail. So let's just organize these nodes really quick. Control J for framing. And let's name this terrain generation. Maybe we can give it a color too, like a rain color or something. And now we can do the simulation zone by adding it in here, simulation zone, and just connecting it up and spreading it out so we have space. So basically with the simulation zone, quick rundown. Every frame it accumulates, so if I want to move it by 0.001, every frame it's going to add 0.001 on the z-axis. So if I play, it will slowly go up, just adding 0.001 every frame, and that just accumulates over time. And that's what a simulation is, it's just playing off the last frame. So I want to add in points for every frame. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to go to points, distribute points on faces. I'm going to use the mesh, and for the seed, I want it to change every frame. So I'll use frame, scene time frame, like that. And now if I add in a join geometry node, like so, and plug it in here, every frame is going to accumulate points. And we don't want it to be that fast, so let's decrease the density by 1. Yeah. So every frame it just adds in points. Maybe we just want it less than 1, so just 0.1 maybe. It's a bit slow. Let's do 1 instead. Let's decrease the subdivision levels by just 1, just so it's a bit faster. Yep. Now we're going to separate the geometry from the points and vice versa. So we will use separate components, so, and use the viewer node, Control Shift click, left click, mesh. We have only the mesh, and if I just plug in point cloud, we only have the points. So how are we going to do this? Well, I'm going to add in a join geometry node. And I will just add in a reroute for the mesh, and then for the point cloud, also connected here, and just add in another reroute, like so. And I'll just add in another reroute here, and another reroute here. It's quite simple. The mesh is at the top, and the points are at the bottom, and we have it separated, so that's good. So if I just play, it should be working just fine. Just accumulates points. Keep in mind these points are not vertices, so if a vertex number is moving, you've done something incorrect. So if I play here, 16.6k, keep playing, still at 16.6k, but the points are going up. There we go. So now what I want to do is make the points move down. So set position, and also I want it to be a velocity. So named attribute, vel, for velocity. You can name this anything really. It doesn't have to be vel, it can be v, it can be whatever you want really. You just have to know what it stands for, because we're going to add the meaning to it, right? So vector math node, and now I'm thinking about it, I think that I made a mistake here. So what I actually want to do is, actually no, I don't think I made a mistake. Minus 0.01, and before that I want to establish that the velocity exists. So I'll do named attribute, and this is like just building up on itself really. Sometimes it doesn't show up in the list, you have to type it in, and I'll just name this vel again, like so, and that should work. So I think I might have done it incorrectly. I think you have to place it here. Let's just see. Yep, that's correct. All right, did that incorrectly. You have to place the vector math node between the read and write. So if I play, it starts to fall down, and it starts to speed up, and it looks quite physically accurate, and that's what we want. Just a bit fast, so we're just going to decrease the speed I need 2, why not? It's still kind of fast. Maybe divide this by 2. Still a bit fast. Divide this by 2 again. I'd say that's okay for now. Now what we want to do is make these points kind of slope down the faces. So what we will do, we first need the vector normal from the mesh. So we will capture the vector normal and we will store it as mesh underscore norm. So we need to capture the normal, the mesh normal. So capture attribute, store named attribute, plug this in here. And to transfer the attribute, we'll use a sample index and a sample nearest node, like so. And let's just create a reroute here. And we'll use the mesh to drive the geometry socket, like so. And we'll change this to vector, and we'll plug the index into the index, and we will use a named attribute, and we'll choose the mesh normal and plug it into the value. And now we can use this value socket to plug into the points, and the points will recognize the normal. So let's just move this here. Other reroute for this. I'm just gonna highlight this, Control J, and just name this transferred normal mesh surface. And what we can do is we can just add in any kind of node here, but we'll just use a reroute. Reroute here, just delete this. So now it's clear what we can plug in. Let's do the same for the velocities. Velocity for points. And I think it would help if we change this color to a different color for the mesh, and then I'll just keep it black for the points, just so that we have some kind of differentiation here. Set position, and we're going to try out a cross product. Basically give in between angles of 2 different vectors. So we're going to use the normal, we're going to use the velocity, Alt P to separate it. And then we're going to do it again. It's basically like halving a pizza slice again. You just want to, you know, a thinner angle almost, so you can get the right angle for the mesh surface. I believe it is this, and then with the normal, I believe. That. And then that should give us the direction. And the other thing is we do not want the velocity to be acting here. I'd say it's looking pretty good. It's following the mesh surface quite well. Very nice. But we're getting this accumulation of points that we just don't need. First, what I'm probably going to do is clean this up. This is probably part of the points, so I'll just leave it like that. Follow mesh surface. Follow mesh surface. Now to delete the other points, what we can do is create an age attribute and do named attribute and make this age, and just add 1 for every frame just so that it accumulates. So just 1, and we'll call this age. just another reroute. Oh. I'll just leave it like that. So now we can just do a delete geometry, and we can use the named attribute that we just created for age, and then we can filter it with a compare node, and I have to experiment with greater than or less than. I keep forgetting which one's which. So you can see that they're deleting at a certain point. I'd say maybe a bit longer than that. I'd say that looks about correct. And the other thing we'd probably want to do as well is just change the appearance of the points. They're quite big looking, so just set point radius and just decrease the size. That looks good. So I actually want to incorporate this with this, just so it's more tidy, and maybe just rename this delete points by age. Now what I want to do is transfer position of these points to the mesh, right? So let's do that. I'm just going to do a capture attribute. Set this to vector position, like so. I'm going to store this as point underscore pos for point position, and then we're going to transfer it with the sample index vector and the sample nearest. I'll just do sample nearest and just put this in here, index to here, and we need a named attribute point pos here, and plug it into the value like so. Up here. Transfer point position. And we have the value here. So if I just add in a set position node and put this into the position, I don't actually think it's going to work. Yeah, it doesn't work like that. Is do a geometry proximity, and the source position can be what we just made here, and target would be the points. And if I plug this, oh, the distance, I think. Okay, I think we'll just leave this for now because it doesn't seem, I don't actually seem to need it that badly. Which here, and just disconnect this, just leave it out for now. So we have geometry proximity. I guess that does it does work, the hard work for us in a way. And color ramp. And plug this in here. And we can just mess with the values like so. Maybe just the other way around would be better, like so. Yep. And then this here can go into the election. So this is the heart of the erosion simulation, really. It's just this kind of like molding in a way. We are getting these holes here, and I think I know how to fix them, but you can see we're getting this erosion effect, hydraulic erosion. I would like to add in oh, actually maybe a compare actually, and then just set it to equal and see. Yeah, there's an epsilon there. Let's try see what's happening here. Okay, so this just makes it smaller. And what we can do is just add in a mix color. Float is better. Copy this value. What is this? Is this the thick value? No, it's the thin value. We want a nice thick one here. I think that's good enough. So we'll use this value for the beginning. Like that. When it gets smaller, how small do we want it? Probably gonna add more resolution so it'll look better. Control C, Control V. So instead of the epsilon being there, we just plug this into here, and then we can just control the size that we specified with the slider. And to drive the slider across, we can use a scene time node. The scene time, and set this to seconds, and it will just slowly, yeah. So it's going quite fast. So if I just clean up here so I know what I'm doing. Like so. Just want to bring this here and just take the viewer node out of here. So this is going way too fast. As you can see, it's only big at the very beginning and it just quickly kind of fizzles away. We want to divide the seconds with a math node, right? So divide with divided by 3 maybe a bit more, like 5, maybe a bit more than that, like 10 maybe. So if we see here, it's looking quite good. I'd say that looks good so far. If we just see how this looks, it seems to be inverted. So I'll just add in a color ramp. Just switch this around, like so. So I feel like the erosion is coming along nicely. The only issue is these holes here. The thing is, yeah, the erosion looks quite good now. I'm thinking maybe it could be a bit faster. Let me just see. 5 maybe. Let's just see the strength of it. You can see where the holes are now. It's very obvious. So the way to go about this, to fix these holes, we can't use the velocity because the velocity, it doesn't know that there is a mesh in the way. What we need to do instead is to just capture the start position of the points and store it at the end here. And we just drag this along like this. Let's add in, reroute like that. And another reroute like that. Just so we have space. Subtract the current position from the captured position, which will give us the difference of the point positions, which will be a much better velocity. So this is technically just an updated velocity. So just val2 will do. We can do a named attribute like so. val2. And if we take a look here, sorry, we also need utilities, vector math, and then set this to length. We need this because when the velocity is high, the vector length is high, and when the velocity is low, the vector length is small. So this is a very good proxy to basically tell us which ones are which. And then we can use a color ramp just to make everything more clear. See here. So as they spawn in, they are black, and then they speed up and they become white. What we can do is first clean up this stuff. Like so. This can be points. I feel like this would come in handy, and we don't need this or this or this. Bell 2 underscore float. Let's plug this in here. Then we can use bell 2 underscore float and set this to float. And we want to probably connect this up. Change this to float and this to float as well. Well, it's already on its default setting. We want this here and this as well. And we want to transfer it to here. We probably want to subtract these values from this. So subtract like that. Plug this in here. So if we just take a look, doesn't really look like it's doing. Multiply this by some number here. I think it's just doing it on the opposite way, so we'll probably need to invert this. Color ramp, invert it. Like so. Still doing holes. Clamp the values maybe? I think it might be comparing issue here. Yes, it is. So if I do equal to around there, maybe it's a less than thing actually. Compare positions of points start to end. Let's just increase the resolution by 1. That looks quite good. And also for the points that are not moving anymore, with a velocity close to 0, actually use that and use this value and do greater than 0, and then we can do a set position here, and we can use this for the sediment basically. So if I take this and then I plug this here and then this one here, and then I just swap this around to this. Oh wait a minute, it's not connected, whoops. I think what we can do to make this more dramatic is to just increase the epsilon value 0.1. Less of a thing here would probably be better. So I'd say this is looking quite good. If you're unhappy with the result, what you can do is you can just change these values here, just maybe messing around with both of them. And also, if it's too fast for you, you can just add in a math node set to divide here just to slow down the seconds. But yeah, the sediment on the ground and this, it's looking quite good. The last thing to do would be is to just use a separate components again just for the mesh, and then we can just apply it like so. Anyways guys, thank you so much for coming down to my channel again. If you guys want some treats, and I mean some treats, you have to subscribe to my Patreon, I'm telling you. Objects. This is a geometry node created that deletes the internal mesh of objects. That's pretty sick. A shader, obviously, you know what that is. Your nodes, clouds, all that stuff. Lego explosion, blend files, including Lego terrain, all that kind of stuff. And I'll also be uploading terrain geometry node to it as well. That's about it for this video. Thank you so much. We're almost at 2,000 subscribers. Let's keep going. See you guys.